It is my great honor to be here to offer some opening remarks tonight. First and foremost, you can read all about who I am in your program. First and foremost, I'm a magazine lover and have been all of my life. And my wife of 17 years is sitting here who has to deal with the stacks of magazines in the house. So she can tell you that that is a true story. As a person who checks a lot of diversity boxes, what I love about the Canadian magazine world is the fact that it gives me so much perspective. And I mean, when I say I click the boxes, I'm a middle-aged, in the middle of menopause, Indigenous, queer, plus-size woman with an artificial hip and a deaf ear. So trust me, I am reading your magazines with a critical eye. And it amazes me, and as a judge in this contest, it amazed me how often you speak to all those parts of me. And I think it's what sets Canadian magazines apart from the rest of the world. I think back to my early years, and actually not that long ago when, in fact, Lulu magazine was the first time I had ever seen a plus-size column in a magazine. And now they're all over the place. But Lulu, from here in Canada, was the first time that I had seen that. Yes. And it's beautiful to be here at the Four Seasons in Toronto. I live in Toronto now too. I moved here almost 2 years ago. But what I think it's important to remember when we're talking about magazines and the power of magazines, there is a romance to magazines, obviously. There is a practicality. For me, I fly a lot, and a book is heavy, but a magazine is light, and I've always got one in my bag. But what's really vitally important in terms of what you do is not for these people here in Toronto, but for people like, say, for instance, an Indigenous kid in Point Lanier, New Brunswick, in the early 80s, village population about 150, sitting in her room, dreaming about what might be beyond the borders of my little village. And I only had one station, and I had to put tinfoil in order to get decent picture on my television. But boy, I had magazines. And magazines showed me beautiful, glossy pictures of a life that might be. And magazines presented to me points of view and depth of thought that I could not access in my little village. Magazines let me dream about the idea that maybe someday my thoughts would be important enough to share on the pages of magazines. The stories that I read in magazines gave me the idea that I mattered as a woman. When I started to say to my parents I wanted to be a mother, but I never wanted to have a husband, my mother brought me an article from a magazine about a woman who had done just that, because she said, I'm not very good with words, but this is beautifully written. The first time somebody told me I was ugly at school, and it was a boy, and I came home crying, my mother, I don't know when she had cut this out of Reader's Digest, but she had cut out of Reader's Digest a tiny little square, and she left it on my nightstand. And it said, I woke up the next morning, eyes swollen from crying, because Matthew Davis thought I was ugly. And it said, most girls would rather be pretty than smart, because most boys see better than they can think. Oh, Reader's Digest, I still have that yellowed piece of paper. That was grade 6, I'm 48 years old. What I'm trying to get across to you is that it's beautiful to come together in a big glossy night like this and celebrate, but I want you to remember the importance of what you do. I want you to stand up and deny when people try to attribute frivolity to what you do. Whether your magazine is fashion, or thought, or art, or specific to an industry, understand that what you do when you go to work every day may be the singular lifeline to some Canadian kid with a dream of setting the world on fire. Because that is the spark that you fanned in me. And I have been enjoying chasing that dream ever since. So from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for what you have chosen to do for a living, and I hope that you will continue to bring Canadians these stories that inspire us to be bigger and better than we ever dreamed we could be. Thank you so much. Thank you.